What's going on, guys? It's the Money Talk Show with Dane, where we talk about all sorts of interesting topics having to do with money. So, if those are topics that interest you, you're in the right freaking place. Here we focus on crypto and real estate. We have some excellent guests on today. We're doing our absolute best to bridge the gap between entrepreneurs, real estate investors, and crypto to help everybody understand what we feel like is the biggest opportunity over the next few years, being cryptocurrency. And so, once again, right place, right time. We're pumped to have you guys on this morning. With that, Corey, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Crypto Millionaires here with Corey Geary. I'm just truly blessed and honored to be on this amazing journey. Like you said, right time, right place right now with everything going on in the macroeconomics. We're in this bloody bear market with the presidential election coming up next year, a Fed pivot. Sooner or later, I think this is going to be probably one of the greatest opportunities we're going to see in our life to create generational wealth. And if we can bring as many entrepreneurs and real estate guys along for the ride with us, that'd be extremely awesome. So, but today, man, we got some amazing guests. I absolutely love these guys. They're probably around my second-ish, third-ish, they're up there at my top, projects that are launching on Pulse Chain besides Pulse Chain itself. These guys, I love that fact that they're truth tellers in many ways. If you watch Buck and some of his content on his older shows, he talks about how whales act in the ecosystem, how he kind of smashes the narratives with people pumping their own bags. And I love how they really are true tellers. And the projects they're creating is absolutely phenomenal because they kind of like mimic what they do in legacy finance and tools that they want to use for themselves, obviously, to help, mitigate some losses and maybe get some more wins in the ecosystem, helps stabilize the ecosystem. And so, man, guys, thank you so much for coming on our show today. It's truly an honor and blessing. We got Mr. Dylan from Phamous and Buck Phiat from Phamous, and actually a multitude of projects. Phamous, Phiat, Phatty, and now Phux. Am I getting that right? Am I missing anything there?
That's our basket at the moment, sir. Yes.
Well, you've got the French pronunciation, Phux. In English, we call it PHUX.
PHUX. Okay, that's what we'll call it.
but it's whatever you want to call it. I don't mind. That's kind of the charm of it. Yep.
Cool. Very cool. Well, let's start just really quick for the people on the show that don't know you guys. Love to get just a real brief intro of kind of your guys' backgrounds, how this came to be with you guys developing for Pulse Chain. Give us some of that.
Sure. I've been in crypto since 2017. I found about, went and started investing in crypto at the top of the market, right? Bought Ethereum first, capitulated into Bitcoin in 2018. Found Richard Hart in 2018 through a couple of his interviews. Really liked what he had to say and how, he was really doing, he was speaking a lot of truth in the market and stuff like that. And, he was pretty intelligent, right? So followed his journey, obviously saw about Hex, was really excited about that, decided to invest, be there on day one, and ride that journey up. And, I liked the community so much that I became an admin for Richard and his telegrams, I would say maybe 2 years ago. And, been helping out the community in every way that I can. Met Buck while I was an admin because he was notoriously a fudster, right? And I was one of the admins that tried to keep those opinions alive. So I was unbanning Buck all the time, right?
Really?
Oh,
also,
yeah.
Also probably banning me now and then.
Probably on maybe one of your alts or something like this, perhaps. Yes.
I don't do alts. I want credit for the bad things I say. But yeah.
And and we got to know each other from that, and been in the private chats, I guess you could say the back rooms of the Hex community for a couple of years, and then Buck had this brilliant idea of forking Aave, which is Phiat, right? And I was really interested in that, and I said, how can I help? This is great. I want to be a part of this. So. And now we have all of these things, and here we are. So
Very cool. Very cool. Tell us about you, Buck.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, basically, I've been in crypto quite a while now, since 2013. Been in Hex since the very beginning. Like a lot of people, I found Richard because I was probably paying more attention to Bitcoin than I should have in 2017, when I probably should have been paying attention to Ethereum a little bit more, which I regret a little bit. But yeah, so kind of a former Bitcoin maxi, discovered Ethereum through Richard, actually, properly, and Uniswap and all those things. I work in traditional finance in a very boring job with a suit and tie, talking to people about bond markets and things like that. I got into the Hex community pretty deep about a year and a half ago, when I went to London and met Richard at the 2-year anniversary party. And I kind of realized how deep the community was at that point in time. I didn't quite fully appreciate it, but when I made the effort to get on a plane and fly out to London, and I saw just how many other people did it, and the scale that we were operating at, I realized, okay, there's actually something pretty cool here in terms of people getting organized and trying to make something happen. And I came out of that basically thinking, well, it'd be nice to do something with this community. I saw what was likely not to exist on Pulse Chain, and what needed to be built. And I went away and basically got some people that I have known professionally for a better part of a decade to basically start working on Phiat with us. And that led to...
Were those other guys, were they in crypto already, or was that kind of like a strange conversation with a lot of your context?
No, those guys are in crypto as well. Not as deep as I am, and not for as long. But they're more risk averse, I should say.
Sure.
But yeah, they've been in crypto for at least 6 years or so. I'm not even sure when they got in. But yeah, crypto is something for me that's been a rabbit hole that I've been going down for a very long time. So yeah, basically, we are building out a sort of horizontally integrated platform of DeFi protocols for Ethereum, for Pulse Chain, that are going to serve this community and other communities. Yeah, we're incredibly proud of it. We're building out forks of Aave, GMX, Balancer, and a better version of things like Zapper and Zerion, with Phatty, which is our wallet aggregator. So those are kind of our current product suite, if you will. And yeah, I think we're going to be a force to reckon with on Pulse Chain. We've got the best people in the community behind us. Just kind of by nature, Dylan and I having, going pretty way back, know most of the big people, which has been pretty helpful for us because it means that they've been supporting us pretty much since day one. The people understood that, we were serious people that wanted to really participate in this. Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy, it's almost a year now that we've been doing this, Dylan, about 10 months since we got started. So
pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
It's nuts what you guys are building. We're really excited about seeing all this stuff. In fact, we have Jen Hex on this morning. Was introduced to Phamous because of this channel. Let's go.
We've
we're
talked
spreading
about you
the good
guys
word.
plenty of times on this channel.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yep, absolutely. So I've got a few different, before we jump into the projects, in fact, we've had some of our members in our group. I had a one-on-one with one of our guys yesterday, and he had some questions that I think are fair, good questions, especially for people that are potentially a little bit newer to crypto. So one of his questions was, well, like why would, how do we take these guys serious? That was almost verbatim. How do we take these guys serious? when they have things coming out like a token called Phux, and it's kind of meme-ish, whereas maybe we want to take another project more seriously that's more professional, if you
or
will.
the fame
What would
pimp.
you guys say to that?
Yeah, I mean that's probably my fault, that one. I'm a pretty serious guy in general, but I also like to use humor. I think with our branding, I could just make it really boring, TradFi type stuff or DeFi type stuff. But I thought with this community, they'd respond better to bright colors and Monopoly Man style guy with green arrows and bags of cash and gold. I thought that was probably more in line with the Hexagon style. So that was me actually trying to speak Hexagon. And with PHUX, to me that sounds like a perfectly reasonable name for a DEX. But most Hexagons just call it Phux for some reason, which they seem to enjoy saying. So I don't know. There's a little bit of just trying to. I think I'm playing to the audience, but
in the two seals. What's with the two? What's with the
seals? Yeah, the two seals. I mean, to me, the seal logo is a beautiful take on the yin yang symbol, which is a symbol of sort of balance that shows the kind of dual nature of good and evil. But yeah, a lot of people think it's two seals engaged in a sexual act. But if you took French in high school, you'll know that the word for seal in French is fuck. So that's a coincidence. I had no idea. But yeah, basically PHUX, I think could have some meme potential for that reason. I'm not a meme token guy. I'm famously disinterested in them. Anybody who's known me for a while, they start talking about dog coins. I went on Shill Tank with our friend B Roots.
Oh yeah, I know B Roots.
B Roots. B Roots is I'm not into his the stuff he tends to promote, but he's a really polite guy, really good to talk to.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. And I went in there and they put me on after something called Avatar 2 token. and you're supposed to shill your thing for like 2 minutes. And I basically spent a minute and a half talking about what a fucking stupid idea Avatar 2 token was. and literally the second I did this, it started rugging. Like it went straight down. It literally made an all-time high in the Shill Tank right as the guy went on before me, and then it just went straight down to zero immediately after that. So yeah, I hate meme coins in general, which isn't to say you can't make money on them, but you tend to make money on them when they're when you're the guy that creates them and rugs them. Is sort of my experience.
I would say you have another talent that I forgot to mention was that right there. You have this talent of picking out scams or memes and talking about them before it happens. For example, you did it. There was a project about to launch in the Pulsing community. It was called what was that, Dane? With the tax you don't pay tax. Pulse Pay, and you called it out as a scam, and even went into Telegram chat and started talking about how it was a scam and fighting with everybody with it. It was amazing, and it ended up being a kind of I guess it was a scam. I don't know what's going on with the project now.
I killed that one. I killed that one pretty much before it even got started.
You did.
Yeah. And that one got a few notable hexagons too.
It did.
Which one of them we now call our Native American hexagon for that particular reason. So
Pulse Pay was one of the dumbest ones I've ever heard. By the way, it was it was something like you're gonna send $30,000 or something like that, and you're gonna get special access to some Native American tax loophole. And there's some person. I want to say chick, but that's not PC. there was some person promoting it who was claiming that she was a Native American, but she had a different sounding accent. It just didn't make any sense. It's like I've met a few Native Americans before. You don't sound like one.
Yeah.
You guys are from the Rocky Mountain area. You'll know what I mean. So I kind of called out that one, and it is something I like doing now and then. It's a little bit of a hobby. I've never really been rug pulled before, and it's because it's just like these things are so patently, obviously bad and wrong. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's so hard not to get rugged. I get rugged all the time." It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Seriously, it's not that hard, guys.
Yeah.
It's called advertising.
So I want to run with this. So Dylan, you're out battling everybody in the Hex Telegram chats early on, and Dylan's having to unblock you. Why Richard Hart? Why Hex? When everybody said he was a scammer and was going to rug pull everybody, why'd you end up sticking around? What's the difference between Hex and a common rug pull?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is a good question. So with Hex, I knew that Richard was up to something. So I think it works both ways. Richard was trying to make it look as scammy as possible.
Yeah,
right?
and he said that in his streams multiple times, by the way.
Yeah, and I was listening. And I was like, well, this is interesting. I know he's a smart guy. I know he's got something up his sleeve, right? This can't be what it looks like on the surface, right? I refuse to believe that. Even though he was actively basically trying to look like the worst person in crypto when he launched Hex. And I spent a lot of time thinking about why that might be. You can see a lot of my thoughts on this actually in the I think it's called Hex.pub thing on my my original Telegram is Cunning Stunt, and it got banned, like double banned, triple banned, and never released. But you can read my thoughts on early Richard Hart stuff. And basically in probably beginning of December of 2019, I kind of figured out that what was going to happen with the AA lobby, and I expected basically Hex price to drop a lot, which it did, and kind of Richard kind of in a way predicted this, but didn't quite say here's my prediction. He said, hey, this could happen, but it dropped 98%, and I started buying. Pretty heavily towards the end of December 2019 into January. And unfortunately, I didn't keep buying. If I did, then you'd call me God whale. But but anyway, I got Hex basically at 1 Satoshi on Buydesk because of that. Because I kind of just knew that he had something else up his sleeve, and the guy that kind of turned into this like malignant, scary Richard for about a month wasn't actually like that. That was almost a role he was playing at the time, and I basically realized there was a huge opportunity in this. I didn't realize how big. Right? I didn't.
Nobody did.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be here in a cent. Literally the next thing I know, it's COVID, and we've got all these people making YouTube video streams and things like that. I'm like, where the hell did they come from? Who's this Maddie guy? Who's this guy dressed up like a dentist? That kind of stuff. So I mean that all took me by surprise. I can't say I predicted any of that. And then I'm amazed every day. Like, you guys are here streaming. That's awesome. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily keep up with the YouTube content very well myself. I'm still discovering every day new things people are doing here, which is really cool.
I would say you're pretty active in the community, though. I do see you on Twitter all the time. I see you making comments all the time. So you are pretty active, which is when you're usually, calling out scams. I see in the comments Dodeca as well. That was another one you called out, was Dodeca.
Dodeca was a classic.
Yeah.
I mean, that one I'm very proud of because the pulse pay, frankly, was too easy. It was just obvious, right? But Dodeca was controversial because they had ingratiated themselves to a number of people in the community. They had a guy who was doxxed. I'm not doxxed. They had the guy was a Hex OG who was followed by Richard Hart on Twitter. I'm followed by Richard Hart on Twitter, by the way, but so I know that's more or less just there was a period when Richard followed everybody who said nice things about Hex. So it doesn't mean everybody followed in that period is necessarily a good person.
Sure.
Yeah. But in any case, so I looked at that and I knew that was going to be a pre-mine type of scam because basically they did a really quiet sacrifice very quickly and to themselves. And, it's a reflection coin. So like it's going to ultimately do what reflection coins do once they run out of steam. That one basically ran out of steam almost immediately. And it basically ran out of steam the moment me and a couple other guys just basically said, hey guys, this is a fucking scam. And they all started to panic and they sold. And then it died very quickly. And the founder disappeared. Yeah. So pretty good that way. So I wanted to say though, so with PHUX, I thought, even though I don't really do meme coins, I thought, well, why don't I take a utility coin and put some sort of meme coin type stuff on it and just see how the hell that goes. So it's a little bit of an experiment for me. Since I'm giving away for free, like if it's worth more than $1, I'll be pretty happy.
Touch on that. Why give it away for free to all the different sacks? You're giving it to the Pulse X sack guys. You're giving it away for all yours. And so why do that?
Yeah. So there's a couple reasons. One, I like making people money. And I think with the DEX, it's good to get people familiar with it and try and go as broadly as possible. I can see that, it might be a little bit controversial. Some of the Pulse X guys might not like something that they kind of perceive as being a competitor to their product. It's not really, to be honest, and nothing's actually going to compete against Pulse X. Pulse X is going to be the Mac Daddy just because of the amount of liquidity that's going to be on it from the OA. So it's not a threat to them. So it's more about just bringing in people into the tent. I also want to use it to basically be a gateway drug that brings other people to us. And really everything we've built is sort of hopefully going to be bringing more users in. I'm building what they call in business school a house of brands, kind of like your Kellogg's cereals, right? You got Wheaties, you got children's cereals like Corn Flakes, Captain Crunch or whatever. Dylan, what do you eat? Fruit Loops? Is there a Mountain Dew flavored?
Fruity Pebbles is my favorite.
Fruity Pebbles. I've been gone from America so long. I don't even know what cereals you still have. But anyway, you have adult cereals. You've got kids cereals. So there's a little bit of something for everybody in what we do. But ultimately, once you start using one of our products, you're going to be more likely to interact with other ones. So it's a bit of a phishing exercise in that sense, not phishing in the sense of sending us your private keys, but phishing in the sense that you're almost certainly going to end up transacting using our exchange at some point if you ever, buy Hedron or Pulse Doge or you sell one of those things. Because we're probably going to have some of the better liquidity in many of those things, including our stuff as well. With the PH at the start of the name of everything, I think it gives us at least a little bit of recognition. I'm not obviously like a super famous guy on YouTube or Twitter, and I don't want to be, but at least this gives us a little bit of brand recognition. And I think altogether those brands, that house of brands, they're worth more together.
I like it.
I think you're more famous
through
than
what PHX is.
Let's do that.
Yeah, Dylan, you want to take that one for me? It's 3 a.m. here. I'm probably just rambling more so than usual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk us
So,
through that because there is a big narrative around like that being a big competitor to PulseX, and I've seen a lot of guys of your guys' stuff saying no, it's not a competitor. We'd love to put those narratives to rest and talk about what the goal of PHUX is.
This is the first time I'm going to hear Dylan answer anything about PHUX. I literally just brought him into all this like a couple days ago, so I'm curious to hear what his opinion is on this. Don't say the wrong thing, Dylan, or else you're in trouble.
Yeah. So, PHUX, is a DEX for the PH universe, right? And, you'll be able to do things on this. It's a fork of balancer to start off, right? The interesting thing that it has over, PulseX, which is, a V2, Uniswap fork, right? So let's go over an example of what a stablecoin pool would look like on PulseX. You'll have your large amount of USDC and let's say USDL, right? And to get some really good price, you have to have very thick liquidity pools. Okay, and something like 50 million on one side and 50 million on the other, with a $1 million bid, that still moves the price almost 1%, right? So you have to have very thick liquidity for these V2 pairs, right? Well, with the Phux thing, you'll be able to have the stable swaps, which should cut down on the slippage, and you won't have to have as much of the liquidity in those stablecoin stable swap pools, right? So that's one advantage. Okay. Also things like the Maximus DAO guys, right? They have, the Maxi token, which is the 15-year, the Deci, which is the 10, the Lucky, which is the 7-year, the 5-year one, the 3-year one, I think, and then the base, right? They have all of those. You can put all those in a liquidity pool and put it up all against each other and have them correctly weighted, right? And have sufficient liquidity across all the pairs, as well as have basically an indexed hex ladder, right? So, the person that makes the pool, they can have, post all of the liquidity in the correct weights, and then other people can deposit all of their maxi tokens and, and be completely diversified in like a hex ladder, right? And while they're in that hex ladder, people can trade amongst them and find the correct valuations and earn fees through that entire time, right? Which is really cool, and I'll be excited to see how that goes. And you can do things like that for the Pulse Doge ecosystem, right? Because they have 3 tokens. They got the Pulse Doge, Pulse Bitcoin, and then the ASIC stuff, right? So you can pair all 3 of those together, and then have them. So you could do those 3 coins plus a stable coin, and then you can have the liquidity for their entire ecosystem. And then also they can still have the liquidity over on Uniswap, right? Speaking of the Ethereum pools that we have right now, right? Those are some of the cool things that you can do with this. The tokenomics for the actual PHUX token aren't ironclad yet, right? But it will be inflationary. It'll be used to bootstrap eFiat. Some of that inflation will probably be used to bootstrap eFiat. There's a couple of other more advanced features that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Like, for instance, if you wanted to start a pool at a weight of like 10 to 90, so you have one side of the pool at 10%, and then the other side at 90% weighted, right? And then you can have that to where after a certain time period, it'll naturally allocate to 50-50, but your starting capital for like say USDC versus meme coin, whatever, 10 to 90, that'll stabilize price to where the meme coin will be a higher price initially, and then slowly find its market price to however you determine, you know, over a period of time, and then however the market decides to trade it, right? Which saves the, I guess you could say, the meme coin founder upfront liquidity, and then it allows the market to decide the actual price of the token, right? So that's interesting. I'm still wrapping my head around that.
That's liquidity bootstrapping. Is that what you're referring to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like the right way to kind of start a new coin, basically.
Right.
Because if a lot of people creating a coin, they may not be eccentric billionaires with $10 million wristwatches, which means that your liquidity is inevitably going to be kind of small.
Yeah.
So it's a very nice feature for those. Dylan, did you talk about stable swaps?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, sorry.
about
I went to get a Coke. Yeah. So I think what Dylan's talked about is pretty good. So you have indexing.
Cool.
So you have the ability to basically invest across everything in the pool at once, just by LPing and earning that income. I think that's a huge feature. What Dylan talked about with the sort of finding the equilibrium price between those maxi perps and other kind of similar tokens. You can do that in Hedron, Icosa, Polymaximus as well. There's just a lot of tokens that fit this description in the community. So we're trying to solve for that problem. I intentionally, when we did the sacrifice, accepted all these things because I knew I wanted to do this.
That's amazing.
So let
me say that back really quick. So when you say indexing, so you take a bunch of the tokens in the ecosystem that have low liquidity, you could essentially kind of combine them together in one pool, create thicker liquidity by combining all of them. Is that accurate?
Yeah, more efficient liquidity, right? So you can use the same $10 million of stable coins now across all of the maxi perps, right? You don't need to go 1 million for this one, 2 million, for this one, because that's the problem. And I could hear a lot of people being, critical of these things for that reason. And I thought, well, it'd be fun to just try to make them a lot more useful. I think when you have a good pool like that, you're gonna actually look at these things pretty seriously because you'll now have the choice between investing in spot Hex, which is just buying liquid Hex, or maybe I think Hex has 3 really good years in front of it, so I want to buy Trio, right? And then maybe we go into a recession in 5 years, right? So I want to sell my Lucky, let's say, which is 7-year Hex. So you get to sort of push them towards equilibrium price based on what you think. I think that's a very cool feature, and I'm curious to see what it does, because I think it's going to sort of change the game a little bit for a lot of these things. Dylan alluded to the PH universe. That's an important thing to point out. So thank you for bringing that up, Dylan. We know the RH ecosystem, which is Richard's stuff, Hex, Pulse X. But the community has actually created a ton of new interesting things. Some of them are terrible. Most of them are terrible, but some of them are actually quite cool.
What are some of the cool things you guys are like seeing that you like that have been built? When you say cool stuff,
some of the cool things, yeah. So I think the maxi perps are very cool. So I'm a bond guy by profession. The maxi perps basically create a yield curve of prices for Hex at different tenors, so at different points in time in the future. The problem is you just don't really know what they're like. They don't really trade enough to be fully liquid for real investors yet, and to give you a reliable price. So I think we're going to find out now because of that. So that's a good example. I think Hedron Icosa is very cool as well. Dylan and I are buddies with Alex. That's somebody that's kind of one of our I'd say key partners. Anytime I have a question about something, Alex is somebody that we go straight to for help, and he always gives it. So he's quite good. I like the guy. They absolutely hate my guts, but I like the Pulse Bitcoin, Pulse Doge.
I've seen you get into it with these guys, and I laugh every time.
Yeah, it's like really funny because like they can't stand me, but you know, I look at their thing and I see this kind of funny Potemkin village of the best of kind of crypto history. You know, that with I'll let Dylan Google Potemkin village. But basically, you know, they've got Bitcoin, they got like they got Pulse Doge, they got you know, maybe Pulse Litecoin, someone coming up with. I'm not a meme coin guy, but like I think that those things will eventually, in the right kind of market, when Pulse Chain exists, actually attract a certain type of investor.
Yeah.
And you know, once again, they had one source of liquidity, but I think he's vanished for eternity.
He's done that before, though. He banished before, and then he came back as another person.
Yeah, maybe he'll come back in a new form. Yeah,
he does.
Yeah,
it's
like Doctor Who or something.
Doing this, so like the guy is like, I don't understand whatever he's trying to do, but let's talk about PUX token. It's kind of interesting, depending on what the tokenomics will be, and I would love to know what your game plan is for this. I think, and we talked about this in the green room a little bit before the show. I think, and it's no offense to it, but I think it could be the biggest opportunity we might see on the Pulse Chain ecosystem. If you give away this to free to everybody, we know that people in general don't value anything that's given for free, even if the thing given to them is an amazing thing. Like if I go around giving free cars to everybody, that they're not gonna value them, right? It's just the way economics work. And people are going to dump it. And I think if you buy the bottom of that token, then maybe that's where you get your 10,000x the quickest, just because it was given away for free. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
10,000x is a pretty big X. So you needed it to get real cheap. I'm not sure because I think I've built too much utility onto this, but we'll see.
Okay, and then that's why I say it's also dependent on your tokenomics that you're adding into the coin, right? Like,
if you want 10,000x, what we should do is not say anything about it, or maybe say that like it's a rug pull and it's terrible and we should sell it.
Gotta go to zero, guys. Sell everything.
I should probably start banning everybody in the Telegram and acting like a tyrant. And
you know, something that worked pretty well for you.
And get the price really down, and then suddenly I should probably then bring out a whole bunch of cool things that we're doing and kind of talk amazingly about it. It's pretty hard to do 10,000x, but yeah, I think let's talk about what's possible. I don't like doing that so much with the other ones because you know, making price predictions on something like that is probably not appropriate. But you know, what's possible here, I think, is to be the second or third largest DEX on Pulse Chain. And you know, really, the largest DEX on Ethereum for this PH universe stuff, which is Richard Harcoins and everything else, because you know, let's face it, you know, that you guys are aware of, we're sitting on about 60 something million hex, right? You know, and millions of dollars in cash, you know, millions of dollars worth of Hedron and Icosa, you know, in a post Ethereum fork, in a Pulse Chain world, we might be still one of the largest providers of LP on Ethereum as well. So, you know, that's going to have value. You know, DEXs get routed to via things like 1inch. And these things do create fees because pretty much automatically, as long as there's LP. So the routers will look at, you know, what the best way to execute your trade is, and they will allocate irrespectively of your preference, really. Yeah, so it's got good potential. And if you look at what Balancer, you know, is worth on Ethereum, it's basically the second or third largest DEX, depending on how you look at it. And it's worth around 300 million, which is, you know, one order of magnitude less than the Uniswap at roughly 3 billion, right? You know, so if we can trade at one order of magnitude or even two order of magnitudes below PulseX, I think that's actually quite a bit of value. And nobody else seemed to want to really take this mantle up seriously yet. I think because they're afraid of offending Richard. We're obviously not trying to offend Richard by any means. PulseX is going to be amazing. But this thing does a few things that PulseX can't do, and vice versa. And you're going to need to have multiple DEXs. So, if PulseX is worth $1 billion and we trade within 2 orders of magnitude, that's still something like, $10 million of value created out of thin air. If it's 1 order of magnitude, it'd be 100 million, right? So
super bullish. I love it.
But a lot of people don't realize that, that could happen, right? It's not to say that we will be the second or third. Somebody, better, bigger, scarier could get involved and really take this up. And yeah, maybe the name does suck, and nobody likes it. But yeah, whoever does become the second biggest DEX on Pulse Chain, does have the ability to have something that's worth tens of millions of dollars. And I saw that opportunity, and I took it. And I took it on behalf of the PH guys who sacrificed for Phiat and Phamous. And then I thought, well, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. How do I avoid getting less shit? And what can I do that's useful? Why not give it away primarily to the people that are using Phiat, right? So that people are actually borrowing on Phiat, and make that as an incentive token to really start to use these products once we launch them in the coming weeks, right? So that's kind of the other thing. Wow. In terms of people not really valuing things, yeah, that's fine. Like, great, go ahead and sell it. I don't mind, but just keep in mind that
I'll be a buyer.
I can do whatever the hell I want, with this token, and we can always do something else later, on top of it. Who the hell knows, right?
Yeah.
Or someone else in the community could do something else as well. So, in a way, it wouldn't surprise me if this thing is one of the biggest ideas that we have. In reality, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But the main thing is, the guys that have backed us, the PH Sackers, are going to benefit from it. It makes me feel very good, and should make them feel very good as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll win some friends with the people who dump our token when we airdrop it to them. They'll get some money. That's cool. I'm fine with that.
I love it. Guys, smash the likes before we move on. Guys, smash the likes and subscribe if you're first time viewing this. Please, if you like the content, it helps the algorithm to get us on top of YouTube. So please smash the likes.
Yeah, we got a few questions in the comments. Here's a good one from Frank. You guys going to be at the Hex conference in Miami in May?
I plan to go down there. Yes.
Really?
I think it's a Bitcoin conference, isn't it? And we're infiltrating it or something like this.
It's kind of the plan.
Phatty?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll try and be there. Yeah.
Cool. And then this is a fair question. I've heard this one before. Love for you to address this one, Buck.
Yeah, I'm very sus. That's why thousands of people have given us millions of dollars, and we've gotten audits from Certic and Solidity Finance, and everybody's generally really happy with us because I'm sus. So yeah, it's don't trust me. I'm bad. I guess
Dumped everything.
Yeah,
Dump
no, I
everything
mean,
so I can buy it.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, look, I'm not doxxed. I don't, I'm just a nobody on the internet really, and I'm a relatively private person. The protocol has the ability. The protocols that we create have the ability to have controversy around them. They're DeFi. All DeFi is going to be under certain scrutiny. It's better actually if they don't have somebody to attack, in my opinion. We've made it as a team. We've made a decision not to be doxxed for that reason. I don't mind showing you my face. It's not very impressive, but I put other people at risk, and there's children and families and things like that we have to consider. So yeah, as a team, we've made the decision not to show our face. That's why we've got Dylan, who's still young and looks like Jesus, to be the face of what we're doing. Yeah, in general, it's a nice thing to say, well, I want to be able to look at you so I can trust you. I get that emotion, but the reality is, you don't know who Satoshi is, and Bitcoin's doing just fine. And
Sure.
the GMX founders are anonymous as well. So it's not necessarily it's not necessarily the end all be all. And when you look at guys like the Tornado Cash guy going to jail, this is just the developer in the Netherlands, right?
Yep.
I'm just imagining a scenario potentially in the future where they start to crack down on people. It makes us targets from a exploitation standpoint. You can be blackmailed. I like to travel. I don't want to show up in the third world and get kidnapped because somebody recognizes me as some crypto guy. It's just a lose-lose all over the place. But in terms of being sus, yeah, I think what we've already done is go look at the body of work that we've done. You don't know what exactly what Shakespeare looked like either, but if you look at his body of work, it's pretty good. And I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it sounds like who is this? Cash Plus asks, will PHUX have any staking? It sounds like it will. It'll be another fee generation opportunity to be able to stake your coins and earn the fees from the platform. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Yeah, I don't know how to not do that.
That's why I love your products.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, let's jump to Fiat. It sounds like that should be launching very soon on Ethereum. That'll be an incredible opportunity to earn more fees for those that want to participate, those that sacrifice for Phamous. We get some eFiat, which is cool. We're really excited about that. Tell us a little bit about the launch. If you could talk about timeframes, that'd be valuable. Some of the things you guys are looking forward to the launch on Ethereum.
Yeah, I think 2 more weeks is a pretty good estimate, actually. So I was talking to Dev1 last night, and he's ready. So that's good. Like he's got no qualms, technically speaking, about launching. So everything that's sort of preventing us from launching is kind of more admin type minutia. Yeah, we're getting down to the pointy end of things. So we closed the sacrifice last weekend, and I think we'll be putting the balances up for everybody to argue about probably in the next 24 hours. And we'll do that for about a week. We'll make sure everybody's accounted for correctly. And yeah, we'll be issuing the token and then launching the protocol. So I think that's coming in the next couple of weeks, to be honest. I don't have a specific date. That's not how it works, but
pretty strong likelihood is this month. You guys think?
I think so. Yeah. I like it, there could be reasons we could actually push it back, let's say a week or so. It has nothing. It won't even have anything to do with the actual development side. It could be related to other things that that are kind of more business related issues. Yeah, it's coming very soon. It's going to be the first time people are able to leverage Hex, short Hex, anywhere in the world. So that's a pretty big deal. It's a project that we didn't commit to originally. It's something that we're doing in addition to Pulse, Fiat on Pulse. We're very proud of that. We're launching something pretty major before Pulse Chain even exists. This is not the same as a lot of other things that you guys see where there's a couple lines of code. This is a very, very complex beast. Thousands of lines of code, oracles, liquidation bots. Really the cutting edge of DeFi in terms of complexity. And I think that we're really lucky as a community that I've been able to persuade my partners to come and build this stuff. because they could have gone and built this stuff somewhere else, right? And it's really only because I believe in Hex and Richard and understood just how enthusiastic this community was, but also how pretty much nobody else in this community just about could ever build something like this that I'm aware of. Because it's really you need some pretty strong computer science to build these things. So it's really only because I believe so much in it that I was able to that I had this vision for this stuff, and then the sacrifice gave us the economic incentive to really put a year of our life into it. For better or worse, I think Pulse Chain is going to be launching with these highly important DeFi primitives, borrowing and lending, these balancer pools, leverage trading. It's going to have it relatively early in its life cycle, which I think is really going to be a phenomenal thing for Pulse Chain, because Hex is cool. I love Hex as much as anybody, but you stake it and you forget about it, right? It's so what's going to get you coming back day after day? It's going to have to be other stuff, right? So some people are into NFTs and whatnot, but one thing that people like to do is punt around on markets and bet. We're happy to provide that to them. So that's it's going to be a pretty good old year for us. So you'll see basically eFiat launching probably this month. I've told the boys it's very important to me that we launch this month, because I've been saying Q1 to everybody. So
Sure.
The end of the
Do
month.
you guys have any concerns with launching this month with it looks like potentially some of the Mt. Gox coins coming out, and it sounds like a Shanghai update with Ethereum potentially coming out and price down on those two potentially?
Volatility.
Yeah, the vol side of things. We're going to launch. I'm telling the devs to launch as conservatively as possible. So with our governance keys, which have been, which I think people understand now, but have been controversial in the past, our governance keys allow us to really dial down risk. So we'll launch with kind of maximum conservative settings. Like we're going to have Ted Cruz settings on our protocol at the beginning. We're not gonna go full Bernie Sanders right away. Because basically, we want to just make sure everything's safe and working properly and test it and stuff like that. And that's one reason why I have pretty good confidence that we're going to be launching pretty soon. Because even with that vol, which actually we were talking about that Shanghai stuff last night, a few hours ago. We don't want to have issues with that. Expect it to be run in a pretty conservative way initially. But that's fine. Hopefully people just understand that's us being prudent and not indicative.
Can you guys? Yeah. Can you do a similar thing with Phamous launch on Pulse Chain? Could you launch it pretty quick out of the gates and dial back potential issues there and come out with it pretty quick out of the gates? Or do we need to, are we going to be waiting till a little while after maybe volatility has died down a little bit on Pulse Chain before you launch Phamous?
Yeah, so I think timing wise, assuming that there's no engineering issues that we have to overcome, they could probably be launched around the same time on Pulse Chain. I actually think it's actually like safer to launch Phamous earlier, actually, just because with Phiat you're actually doing real liquidations where you have to go out and basically transact. Somebody has to go in and replace the money that someone else is basically short. Whereas on Phamous, it's a price taker, so it might actually be easier, safer to launch earlier on Phamous. But we've committed to launching Phiat first because that's something we committed to. But I think in reality, if the timeline that we're working towards is a pulse chain that's at least 3 months away, which I think is pretty likely, then I think actually the odds are that they'll probably both launch around the same time. Most likely is the most likely scenario. But yeah, it won't be straight out of the gate. That wouldn't be safe.
Sure.
I would like to touch on a couple other things. You're a pretty smart individual, Buck, and you've been in legacy finance for a long time. And we kind of touched on this a little bit. Dane, you alluded to it with the Mount Gox coming up, with the Shanghai coming up. Do you think we bottomed, or do you think we have more pain to feel in the market moving forward?
Yeah, I think the bottom of the ETH already happened a while ago, and probably likely the bottom in broader equity markets as well. I think it's more likely that the bottom already happened in Ethereum. I think. Than
what about the Fed raising the interest rates more throughout the year? You don't think it's going to push? It's not going to push legacy down more?
No, because that's already priced in. That's why we dropped last year. So now what you need to see is inflation stickier and more persistent than is already expected. So that was sort of what we had with Powell yesterday, making kind of more hawkish comments. But on the other hand, that's his job to go do that as well.
Yep.
Right. And the market kind of sees through that to an extent. So if right now the whole market's sort of expecting that inflation is going to start to drop, and kind of head back towards that like 2 to 3% area, and and that means basically that Powell can stop hiking, But for now, the economy has actually been pretty robust and resilient. So I think it's more likely that we've already bottomed in crypto in particular. And I say that because what happened with Terra Luna and then the knock-on domino effect all the way to FTX is, to me, very similar than the contagion event that you had in 2008 that led to the collapse of Lehman Brothers and other institutions. That's pretty bad. Like that kind of thing doesn't happen every day, and it's hard to keep happening, right? Once you've had that kind of blow up, suddenly everybody takes everything a lot more seriously, and it's harder to get capital. It's harder to raise money, is what I'm saying. It's harder to get as much leverage. Everybody basically hunkers down. So I don't think we're going to necessarily see more of that kind of stuff happen, right? And really, the only thing that keeps me up at night in crypto, the only way I think you get a new low in Ethereum is if the U.S. government plays real bad with Binance and CZ, goes after Tether, right? That's the only thing that really kind of keeps me up at night, because I think that could create a pretty nasty domino effect in crypto. And it does seem likely to me at some point that the U.S. government will move to get those guys, because if you're the U.S. government, you're not going to like someone like CZ having so much money and operating this sort of shadowy entity out of Dubai with weird Chinese connections and things like that. And you're not going to like USDT, basically having billions of US dollars offshore being transacted, by God knows who, right? That sounds like exactly the kind of stuff that ultimately becomes a target. So that kind of worries me a little bit, but barring that, I don't really see a crypto specific reason to put in new lows. And the macro side of it, I don't really see that necessarily happening either. It could, if we're really shocked that inflation is actually much more persistent than we expect. That would force the Fed to keep hiking way beyond what is already anticipated. Where I live, the equivalent of the Fed is basically already thrown in the towel and signaled that they're going to be more dovish going forward. So I think you're going to see a bit of more dovishness from central banks globally, probably. For now, they have to scare you into what they're trying to do is they're like your they're like your high school teacher in Dare. Corey, you probably took Dare when you. They probably don't have it anymore because it was the dumbest fucking idea.
There was a study that says that it actually taught people
Increased
about
drug
drugs,
use.
and they wanted
Totally did.
maybe that's why I was such an alcoholic throughout my life.
I didn't know what a buzz was until I took Dare. So
Right.
thank you, Officer Brown. Thank you for Officer Brown for explaining to me what a buzz is. Because
Right, this is cool. I'm gonna go try this.
I was like, "What's a buzz?" And they're like, "Oh, it makes you feel good, like you kind of talk, the girls think you're more interesting, and oh wow, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah, okay, all right, let me go try
You're
that.
more attractive.
Yeah. So suddenly everybody's better looking. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, officer.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Dare. So there. I guess the Fed's trying to scare you guys straight and spook you into basically stopping your spending. Make you not hire that extra employee that you think you might need. That's their job. They have to scare you, but that doesn't mean that's actually what they're going to keep doing necessarily forever. Right. They also want to kind of just balance. What they want to actually do is make prices stabilize. So once they've scared you into not doing too much economic activity, basically that's going to be the mechanism correcting itself, and they don't have to keep doing what they're doing. So, yeah, I think in any case, the big shock is likely over for now. Inflation can come back again, and probably will someday, but we're talking in a multiple year time frame. So it's likely inflation is going to drop for the rest of the year. It may even go negative, sometime in 2024. Wouldn't surprise me, but it will be back ultimately as well. So we could be going sideways in crypto for a long time for that reason. So I actually quite like where Hex is set up currently because we're an asset that's been very depressed, with just maximum FUD, if you will, with the SEC stuff, with Richard kind of going through what looks like a midlife crisis, first with the sports cars and the blonde girls in the back and, all that stuff. Now he's kind of, done that part, and he's going through the next part of your midlife crisis, which is nostalgia, remembering his roots in the hood and things like that. So, it's that we had the delays of Pulse Chain. So it's been a really tough year for the Hex community in that regard, but I actually think that's generally the time to look at things pretty well. I could see like the rats jumping off the ship for Zen, a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Didn't take much.
Doesn't take much. Yeah. I'm quite proud of it. You can go through my Twitter feed and see, I'm like literally just begging people like, now's the time to buy, you idiots.
I saw that. Yeah. You were like, I'm buying, guys. I don't know about you, but I'm buying. This is looking really good.
It's looking really good.
And actually, I'll be honest. I follow you, and so when you said you were buying, I was like, well, shit, maybe I should buy too. I started buying, and that was around that 2-cent range. Yeah. And I was like,
back in December.
Congratulations, and like that's easy money, right there. That we all made, right? That was easy money, and like the next 2x is actually a lot harder. Is the reality,
for sure.
So. But yeah, anytime you can get something where people are just walking away from value, if they're just dumping a pile of money in the corner, you go and you pick that value up. That's investing 101, right? And we saw that kind of behavior, right? You saw guys with like 100 million hacks, just like going, oh fuck this, man, I need to leave. And I
completely liquidated his position. Yep.
Do you guys have any price targets for Hex heading into Pulse Chain launch?
I think 20 cents is probably likely once the market thinks that Pulse Chain is imminent. It would be my guess. We were at 18 cents back in May. When we thought that, obviously, markets corrected and then it bounced back a bit more broadly since then. But I think that's a pretty good indicator of what's likely to happen. I think 20 cents is probably a fair estimate. It could be less than that. It could be more than that, but that'd be my guess.
Okay. Do you feel the same, Dylan? Any varying opinions there?
Sure. I kind of agree with that. It depends on how long this takes, I suppose. It seems like we're pulling back a little bit with the rest of the market because of what Powell said yesterday on he's a little bit hawkish. It's hard to say, man. I would be happy with teens, right? That's cool with me. I would like teens. It's just when do we get some solid, okay, yeah, Pulse Chain is coming here in this, in this month or something like this, right? We're still having our issues with V3, which is fine. Rather than happen now than when we're trying to do mainnet, right? But I think perhaps the market still thinks that after V3 comes out, then it's 2 weeks and then we have mainnet, which I don't. That's probably not going to happen, guys. Right? They need to thoroughly test V3 and make sure that all the bells and whistles are ringing, and before they pull that trigger. So, right. I guess we'll see. It'll probably be better that we, kind of perhaps go sideways and form a nice rounding bottom, and continue our trend, I guess. But there is the fact that back in May of 2021, when Pulse Chain was announced, the whole sacrifice thing or whatever, what Richard's doing, the price literally just went straight up, and it went to 50 cents all the way up until September, right? So, that's possible, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
This does bring me to my. I know we wanted to discuss some narratives today that smashed some. I wanted to discuss one, and this brings me to one of the narratives that we have in our community, what we're talking about right now, and that is what you guys think as far as EHEX and PHEX being parity after Pulse Chain is launching. I think that's a narrative, and I think EHEX is probably going to end up losing its valuation, and all the valuation is going to be on PHEX over on Pulse Chain. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
That's fair. Narrative? It doesn't take much to hold them together, right? So let's run this scenario, right? What if we see this, where all of the liquidity is pulled from EHEX, okay, but it's all transferred over to where it's bridged onto Pulse Chain. So, you have your PHEX, EHEX pair on Pulse Chain, and then you have all of the HEX liquidity for both, right, on PulseX. Okay, so if you wanted to value EHEX, you have to go through the bridge and trade it for PHEX or whatever, right? So now for both coins, you have the one liquidity pair that exists on PulseX or something like this, and they just have residual on Ethereum. Just for those guys, because people are gonna provide liquidity on Ethereum still, right? Like it's not just gonna.
You don't think EHEX is just gonna get smashed and all the money's gonna be over on Pulse Chain in the future? One, because the gas fees suck over on Ethereum. That's one reason. Sure. Another, because Pulse Chain was built for HEX.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think most of the value will exist on PHEX, right? But it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to, if somebody really wanted to, with 1-2 billion hex, then that shit ain't moving, right? You pair 1 billion hex on one side and 1 billion hex on the other, that shit's not going to move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we hear Johnny Chaos talking about that a lot.
That's possible, but will it happen?
Right. What about you, Buck? What's your thoughts on that narrative?
I actually asked Richard about that directly at dinner.
Really?
a year and a half ago, and he didn't really answer the question. I think he was probably still thinking about it himself. I'm not sure actually what'll happen, but I think the important thing is to think about what's possible, and kind of position yourself for that. It could be that it's advantageous to let one dump, and then rotate into it, right, and then let the other dump, and then rotate back. I think that's one thing that people don't think about is the dimension of time on this. So some people assume, okay, well, it's going to zero forever, and maybe it's better if one trades cheaper for a while and then another gets more expensive, and then they alternate. Volatility is a very useful thing, right? Because it's the crypto guys like to say, you shake out the weak hands, but there is some truth to that. You want to basically move the crypto from the guys that are weak-handed to the guys that are longer term and don't have to sell, right? And once you've done that, then your crypto can go to absurd valuations, right? So that's part of the game of crypto, is to sort of get the crypto into the hands of the people that know how to push it forward, but also B, don't necessarily have to turn around and sell it tomorrow. There's a very good crypto terminology which I'd like to bring to traditional finance, but I don't think it's going to be ESG enough, which is jeeting. So one of my favorite words from crypto. But jeets are guys that basically sell as soon as they can and get the kind of minimum amount of return for something. And you see these guys, like, they show up in your Telegram room going, "Sir, I won this, sir, I won that," and you just know that's exactly the guy that has like 2 cents to rub together, and that he's also going to be the first person to sell, and move on to the next one. Those guys are actually pretty unuseful, so I go out of my way to treat them poorly when they come to my Telegram room, for that reason, right? And one insight that I think Dylan and I have as guys that have been involved in creating these coins and being a Telegram madman, and being in a community for a very long time, you get to know the guys that have a lot of crypto and how they behave, yeah, that's sort of an important insight I think to really try to think about when you invest in crypto. Try to put yourself in the shoes of the guy that's holding 1,000 Bitcoin. How does he see the world? That guy might not be a genius, right? He might just be somebody that was in the right place at the right time, but they see the world a lot differently than your average Jeet investor, who's basically just trying to make $100, right? That guy that has 1,000 Bitcoin can't invest in Hex really right now. It's not big enough yet for him. Like, he can, it's almost not worth his energy, right? He definitely can't invest in, like, if he does, he'll be like Godwell, right? He definitely can't invest in stuff like what we're doing yet either, right? It's too small for him, so it's quite an interesting thing. And then in the traditional finance world where I live, like, most of the guys I work with, unless they can put $100 million into something, they can't invest in it. You know what I mean? It's like, that means the thing itself has to be worth billions, right? Because you don't want to be the concentrated owner of it either, right? So that's a pretty common problem that the big end of town has.
We see that everywhere in crypto.
Yeah. And you don't realize it, but your crypto is held by guys that could rug the price to zero pretty much at any point in time.
You yourself have old enough Hex where you could probably push the price down to almost zero if you wanted to.
We could kill lots of things, and the people that don't understand that, what I mean by this, will of course take this the wrong way and go back to their respective chat rooms now. i.e. The Pulse Doge, Pulse Bitcoin guys. Yeah, like I could run Pulse Doge to 0 right now. So could a few other people, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't actually happen, right? And that's because the guys that actually have that kind of position know they can't rug it, and it's actually destructive to them to do it. And they're better off actually promoting it, getting other people to invest in it, rather than do that. But also, it's like if you got to the position where you have a ton of hex to begin with, odds are you're probably already pretty wealthy, and I think I have a pretty good handle on most of the guys that are sitting on 100 million plus in hex. They weren't poor before hex necessarily, right? They were probably business people already. They're probably Bitcoin OGs. That's the kind of profile of these guys. So they don't really need to sell, right? They'll sell if they think this thing doesn't have a future, right? That's logical. But you're not selling because you're looking to pay your utility bills or things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people miss that element when they think about the kind of the game theory. And hex is pretty interesting in this way as well, because you have this sort of OA figure lurking in the background that is kind of the ultimate manifestation of that, right? So it's quite an interesting thing in that regard. So yeah, I think in general, you can see that vol basically play out in a number of ways that are ultimately positive for the ecosystem. But yeah, I think 20 cents is a good target for when the community thinks Pulse Chain is actually imminent. But yeah, Dylan points out that could be months away. I agree with Dylan on that. I think it is months away, 3 months minimum. And maybe we got too fizzed up the last month. Possibly.
Possible. Sure. Let's talk. If it's cool with you, Corey, I'd like to touch on Phatty before we end the stream. I'd like to talk about Phatty a little bit. So I know there were some people that had concerns because you could copy and paste your wallet in and just use it as a view only feature, or you could go connect your wallet. And there are people with concerns about actually connecting their wallet. Why should somebody connect their wallet versus going in and just copy and pasting in their address?
Nice. Well, I mean, that's the way the guys have built it. Basically, the reason to connect it is so that you can basically have like an account. And we're not there collecting your information or anything like that. Like we have no interest in it. That's not how it works. But that's just so that literally, when you do work there, and you come back, it's still there. That's basically the logic there. But yeah, there's absolutely no obligation to do that. It's a free tool. Pick a wallet that is empty, that you're never ever going to use, and maybe isn't even your connected to your main seed phrase. So then there's really no harm. And then add the wallets that you want to add to your bundles. Also, we've just pushed live public bundles yesterday. And this is a big feature that I've been asking for since day one that they've finally gotten around to. But it's going to allow you guys to basically create bundles of all your favorite people. And, when you see them pushing money into one account, to try to hide, you can kind of go, okay, all right, this wallet's connected to that wallet now. And, so I think it's going to create a new level of stocking. And
I would use that.
Yeah, I'm going to use it. I can't wait. Because I don't want to. It's going to be crowdsourced too, right? So
I'm already so obsessed with crypto. That's just going to make it worse.
Yeah. Well,
Notification, baby.
Imagine, and you know what, Corey? That I love hearing that, because it's like that's exactly what I want to hear as the entrepreneur behind this. I want you to look at this and go, how addictive is this going to be? It's like I'm going to watch myself getting richer every day or poorer, depending on which way the markets are going.
Exactly.
Especially in those days when prices going up. people are going to be logging into that thing a lot because they want to see the number go up, right? And if you're a Hexagon, this is going to be the best place to see number go up because I know you guys have Hedron, right? And like Richard's stuff doesn't show you your Hedron, right? And I know you degens have Pulse Doge and Pulse Bitcoin.
I got some.
So
I
you're
mine
gonna
Pulse
be able to
Bitcoin. I mean,
you're gonna be able to see that there as well, and and any other bullshit you guys create, I'm gonna try to support it, right? And and you're gonna basically pay me back by looking at Phatty, which is a free tool. But the beautiful thing about it is it's gonna cross sell everything else we're doing. So when you go there, you're gonna see the earn button, and you're like, "What is this earn button?" Well, that earn button's gonna take you to Fiat. You can deposit right there, right? Or there'll be a trade button, to take it to Fame. Or there'll be a sell button or a buy button or whatever, to take it to PHUX.
Will there be an option in Phatty to be able to stake for all of your guys' projects in one place via Phatty?
Yeah, probably. That's probably in the works. We're going to have sort of independent UIs for everything so that they stand alone by themselves. But I think an obvious thing would be to sort of build a page in Phatty that has not just that, but other tools. I would like them to all be interoperable, but I don't like saying that stuff out loud because then everybody asks, when is this happening? And it's unfortunately not up to me to make it happen sooner. The devs have to do it, right? But I'll give you an example. I would like to be able to just borrow directly from Fiat to make a position in Fame, right? So sometimes I want to go long, Hex right now, so I need Hex, right? Maybe I don't have it in that wallet, because I've deposited all my stuff to Fiat, right? If I could just go Fiat, give me 100,000 Hex right now, right? Push a button, make a little Reddit icon for Fiat, and just like you do with your bank, right? And it basically goes, yep, boom, here's your 100K Hex, right? You may not even have any Hex in Fiat, but it's just going to borrow it for you, right? Maybe you've got a bunch of stable coins or whatnot. So I would like it to work like that. And I think if we have that kind of stuff there, that actually makes this kind of product suite rather unique in crypto, because basically we're cobbling together all these things that normally get done by 4 different parties. We're gonna be the first people that have really actually put it all together, and what that speaks to is stuff that probably you guys don't like because it sounds bad for you, but it's almost like monopolistic, right? In a sense, it's not monopolistic in that I can't force a monopoly, but like if we're so good at it and no one else is any good at it, it almost becomes like one, which is why the buck icon turned into the Monopoly Man. A lot of people think it's a pimp. It's once again, it's that Hexagon degen lens. The buck logo is of a Monopoly Man, reimagined in a Richard Hart kind of clothing style. Right. So if you Google Monopoly Man logo or Monopoly logo, you'll see the connection. It really cracks me up because everybody goes, "Why do you have a black pimp as your logo?" It's the Monopoly Man, you degen. So yeah. So I've learned that most people in this community are illiterate and and see the most prurient thing. So I've decided to lean into that with PHUX, which you guys are going to call Phux. And rather than 2 seals in a beautiful harmonious yin yang, which is a nod to an ancient beautiful Asian religion, Taoism, you guys are going to see 2 seals fucking. So
is there going to be a token attached to Phatty? I've heard rumblings of that.
For now, no. I don't have any plan on monetizing Phatty because that makes it less controversial, right? Because whenever I go talk to people and oh, what are you trying to fucking sell me, you asshole? It's like, I guess you're a communist. Okay, I get it. And the thing is, frankly, we got enough money. We're fine. I don't need to make a cent off of Phatty. I can lose money all day on Phatty. I don't care. Right. So its primary purpose is to sort of be this neutral thing that brings people from, across the pulse chain community, across the pH universe to our products. I even want to kind of compete against D-Bank and Zapper, who are kind of the guys that do this in broader crypto longer term. Right. For now, I don't have all the stuff they've built in because I've been focusing on just doing our stuff, which they don't do. But yeah, I think that's sort of my Trojan horse to get all the people into our products. You could build a token there, like a 1-inch style thing would be kind of the obvious one. I don't have any plans to do that. But like I think we've got enough on our plate. I know the Power City guys are trying to make a DEX aggregator, so like that's great. But yeah, there's other things you could potentially do as well. But yeah, no plans for that just yet.
Cool. Is there any reason not to, if your guys' stuff is successful, is there any reason not to go to other chains?
No, we're definitely going to other chains. I mean, we're launching on Ethereum, for that reason as well. The pH universe, the way I define it, it's Richard Hart's stuff, but also everything that's sort of sprung out of Richard Hart, whether intentionally or not, right? So that includes, for better or worse, things like Pulse Doge. It includes Zen, for example. I like Jack. I think Zen is a terrible investment, and I'm very proud about saying that. I think I have a pinned tweet somewhere where I basically said buy Hex and sell Zen, and that, I'm very proud of that. But like if Jack creates an L1, which he claims he will, like that's interesting to me because I already have, there's a fair amount of crossover there already, right? In terms of communities, right? So if Jack can go onboard some more people, and there's always at least one, Hex OG in the conversation, and if actually a lot of Hex OGs are also wealthy people on X1, there's no reason why we can't be on. We can't recreate the same thing basically on X1, and once again have first mover advantage, right? So that's just one example. It's not to say that that's what we'll do, but that's an opportunity that we're looking at. The hardest part though is really getting that initial community to back you, right? There's like a pretty good moat in general that the incumbents have on the other chains, right? So if you can serve an underserved community like the Hex community, which is what we're doing, you get their love, but you don't get a lot of love from other people. Yeah, we would like to be on many chains in the future, but it's also something we don't want to promise either.
Sure. And we're bullish. We're really excited about what you guys are creating. The opportunity for passive income and fee generation is just freaking bonkers. So we're very excited about what you guys are making.
Yeah.
Corey, are there more things that you want to touch on?
No, man, I think we did it. I got to get going here in a second. So I do appreciate you guys coming on. I absolutely love what you guys are doing. I think it's going to really facilitate the adoption in Pulse Chain, what you guys are doing. These tools are going to be amazing, and it's just going to accelerate that adoption cycle for us, and which means at the end of the day, that means number go up in all our assets at the end of the day. That's what that means.
So, yeah, we agree.
Yeah, well, if you look at kind of what I was talking about with that monopoly stuff, like a good example of that is like think about how guys like Bloomberg become, decabillionaires, right? They kind of sit at the intersection of information and provide services to people when they're transacting, and that's what we're doing. It's the same thing Goldman Sachs does, same thing JP Morgan does, you look at guys like CZ, they do the same thing in CEX land as well, and obviously worth billions. So that's what we're playing for with what we're doing. If we get any of this right, even a piece of it right, we're going to do very well. I think if we get most of it right, we're going to do really well. And if Richard has any kind of success, I think we almost don't have to do anything more than we've already done. So it is I think pretty bullish, and I can't wait. I'm even more excited than you guys about to see how it plays out.
That's a great comment. The logo's offensive. Maybe have Sills in a group sex and hair of all people's races to be PC.
That's awesome. Well, one seal's blue and one seal's pink, which could be considered a gendered thing, but they're actually two different races. One's a Smurf.
That's great. Well, once again, we appreciate you guys coming on and spending your time with us today. You guys can find these guys. They've got the T.me addresses at the bottom of their names. You can find them there. Is there anything else you guys want to shill or talk about before we jump
shill
off?
your stuff, guys? I'm gonna hop off real quick, guys. Thank you so much for being on. Dane will wrap it up, but guys, please shill your stuff for the audience so they know where they can find you at. So see you guys.
Thanks. Yeah, and you can follow us on Twitter. My Twitter is at @BB_trippin. It stands for bitches be trippin'. You can follow me there. You can follow Buck at I believe on Twitter it's at Buck Phiat or at Buck Phut. Hold on.
Don't follow me on Twitter. That's fine. But look out for Phiat in the coming weeks, guys. It's going to be, I think, the biggest thing to happen in the community in a while. We're really excited about it.
And if you have any remedial questions about Phiat, Buck loves when you DM him. So his DM is right there in his name.
Oh yeah,
Buck Phiat.
I should get rid of that. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah. all DMs, unless you are really rich, please DM Dylan. That's my request. If you are really rich, I'm very happy to talk to you as long as you want, anytime you want, but only if you're really rich. So that's otherwise go straight to Dylan. Thank you.
Cool. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate you guys for jumping on, and we'll catch us tomorrow. We've got a full lineup the rest of this week, and we're talking with the guys from Tetra tomorrow, so that'll be good. Nice. So catch us tomorrow. Thanks guys.
And, thanks for having us.